In Wellington, my favourite capital city. And back, here I am again talking about Drupal, my favourite CMS. But in the immortal words of LL Cool J, do not call it a comeback. We've been here for years. My first DrupalSouth was in Wellington in 2010. Next, it was the pre-D8 event at Sparta in 2014. If anyone remembers that, anyone here for that? Yes? Yeah, I remember your talk. Absolutely. Very, very good. After that one, we believed the hype and we doubled down on Drupal. And then the last conference was here in 2023, which sounds not so long ago, but a lot has happened since then, and it feels like a lifetime ago. So we have a proud history of Drupal in the city, and in terms of history, this isn't my first time presenting, and this isn't my first time presenting to the themes of LL Cool J. Back in the 80s, I gave a talk in high school. Yes, I was in high school in the 80s. It was an assessment presentation for a very important mark to my unsuspecting English class on the spoken word literature of Dr. James Todd Smith, LL Cool J, urban poet. I was most excited by his use of metaphor, his expert control over meter and scansion. My English teacher was less impressed. Their assessment of me back then was that I was irrelevant, argumentative, and that I deliberately misunderstood the assignment. Maybe later today, you can come up to me and let me know how you think I did with today's talk. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dave Sparks. I've had the same job for the last 20 years, working mostly with the same people for most of that time. I've thought about the future every day for as long as I can remember, and in the next 24 minutes, I'm going to share my top 3 thoughts about the future right now. First thought of the day. Pay attention. I got told this a lot as a kid. Pay attention, slow down, pay attention, slow down, could try harder. This was the soundtrack to my formative years. And I think it's mostly valid, apart from the could try harder bit. People don't appreciate how much work goes into making it look easy. And I can say with confidence that in high school, I was a massive tryhard. Now I'm older and wiser. Pay attention and slow down is good advice. But pay attention to what? I made a key mistake in my 20s. I paid too much attention to my feelings. For various reasons at that stage, the volume was up pretty loud on those. Hands up. Anyone here that happened to you in your 20s? Feelings a little bit loud in the ears? Made a few bad decisions. Listened to my feelings too much. Cycles of conflict, regret, conflict avoidance. Learned some hard lessons. Feelings are valid. Most of us have them from time to time. They're a key bit of data about what's going on. But I've learned they're better outputs than inputs. They're an experience you have because of something you do or something that happens to you. And at times of change and uncertainty, stress and frustration are pretty common outputs. They're a reaction though. They're a reaction, not an action. Around my mid-20s, in the middle of that turmoil, I got into making websites. It's a tricky business, I'm sure you know. But I took great comfort at that time at not being the smartest person in the room. I was lucky enough to be surrounded by ambitious, creative, intelligent people who made good work happen. I was happy to not be the smartest person in the room, but I was also painfully aware that the dimmest bulb gets changed first. So to get by, I paid attention to what other people were thinking to make myself seem smarter. Stealing other people's ideas is an ugly phrase. So I took great comfort when that got rebranded as open source community. Borrowed thinking is good. So pay attention to slow down. There's a lot of noise and distraction out there, and it grows every day. Right? I'm not sure if you guys have ever been on the internet, but there's a lot of tabs open. There's a lot going on. If you just wander into LinkedIn one day, you'll see an endless scroll of people trying to tell you things, tell you what they think. And it seems to me, particularly on LinkedIn, that a lot of what makes the most noise today is something a little less thoughtful, a little more performative. Our lives are kind of awash with reckons. The defining technology for the season is theft, regurgitation, and synthesis. The message is always speed up, speed up, speed up. You'll be left behind. Go, go, go. Listen to me. So today, what's my best advice about investment when it comes to your attention? I feel like you pay attention to what you're doing. Pay attention to what other people are doing. Not what they're saying, not what they're feeling, but what they're doing. That's gold standard advice. Driving a car, as someone who's just taken two adult humans through the process of learning how to drive a car, pay attention to what you're doing. Gold standard advice. Driving a car, using a chainsaw, deploying to production, anytime you're working with heavy machinery, safety first. Pay attention. And there's a lot of heavy machinery involved in making websites. Even back when I was cutting HTML and text edit and pushing it up over FTP using Fetch, that was a lot for me. That felt pretty heavy. But the stuff that the kids today are doing is pretty wild. Software development is a driving force in our industry. I probably need to hammer that point home. But writing software and making a website are two different things. One is working with technology, and the other is working with content. If you're doing two different things at the same time, you halve your chance of success. That's my basic rule of thumb. You divide your attention at your peril. If you've got two things on your mind, you've only got 50% of your attention on either of them. Writing modules to make websites is like texting while driving. From 2015 to 2025, we as an organisation and a team, we put our attention into developing the sector distribution for a lot of reasons. The primary benefit that I saw was it was an approach to separate the code from the content. We wrote the software before we built the website. Before we had sector, backend was typically half of any given project. And with sector, we can launch sites with no backend dev at all. That resource goes into contribute integrations. And obviously complex sites still need work, but to be honest, most of that work is content migration and plumbing. And I don't need to kind of preach that to a Drupal site builder audience, but reducing that friction, increasing that separation and separating code from content was a huge game changer for us. The net effect for us as a business was that risk dropped, rework minimized, and revenue doubled. the opportunity that CMS, Drupal CMS, the site templates bring, is not just better sites at a lower price point. You know, with all due respect to Serge and his affordability contention, you know, it's a pretty compelling proposition in this market to do more cheaper. But the big win for us, and why I'm excited about this approach becoming a default approach for our community, is it's the opportunity to separate the heavy machinery from the driving. To put aside the fear and frustration of a new way of working, to borrow the best thinking from others, and to focus your attention on one thing at a time. I feel like that is the best chance for success. Sorry, AI didn't help me with my slides, so I slightly pushed the button myself. So pay attention. Borrow from the best, focus your attention, success. Simple recipe. Thought number 2, make peace with the past. Now I have a love-hate relationship with the past. I love the past because it's an endless source of stories to open conference talks. I constantly refer to the past because I have a lot of it. And looking around, I feel like I probably have that in common with a lot of people in this room. I certainly have that in common with Drupal. It's where all the hard-won lessons come from. I learn the hard way usually. I like to learn lessons the hard way. I don't seem to be able to learn them the easy way. Learning from the past, though, means that ideally we don't have to repeat our mistakes. I've got a pretty solid list of don't do that agains. I'm happy to share those at any time. And one of the key strengths of our open source community is that we can share and do share what we learn and what we're doing. And Drupal as a product has been refined and improved by our collective do's and don'ts. But Drupal has a real problem with the past. A real problem, and it's still here in 2026. Drupal was very, very popular and very, very successful at a time when other platforms weren't, and it can be hard to let go of that. I hate that for us. I really hate it. Drupal 7 was amazing. It was a huge enabler. You could do a lot. But it was a conference in 2014 when Pamela convinced us to go for Drupal 8. You know, people could do anything with it. People could do anything they wanted, and they did. And no wonder it was popular. You know, even people who didn't want it used it, right? People would walk up to you on the street, ask if you could build with Drupal, and stuff money in your pockets. Golden years, truly. And no wonder that for a lot of people it's really, really hard to move on. Nostalgia is a hell of a drug. We're not alone in that. It's a familiar story in tech. Platforms get left behind. Very few projects survive success unscathed. But damn if it doesn't give peaked in high school vibes. It's insufferable. I mean, you know, no wonder other CMSs hate us. I mean, I get it. I still look back fondly. I look back to a time when my knees didn't hurt, and I didn't keep an optometrist in business. I tried to trade off screen time between a 5K retina and a tiny little telephone. I still listen to records I bought in high school. I look back at work we did with businesses helping to succeed with Drupal 7, and I'm very, very, very proud of that work. I'm not going to leave that behind. But I'm not going to let it take space from the future. Next mission.
I'm
When Kylie released Spinning Around in 2000, it was a return from the commercial and critical wilderness. A global megastar of the 90s, critics and the public did not warm to her previous experimental and progressive Impossible Princess album. We stop me if you know this history. She was no longer popular, and she spent a few years under a cloud creatively, wondering if it was all over. And although she did not write Spinning Around, she recognized the truth in it, and she owned it. She borrowed the best of the past, updated it with modern computer-based production to layer in an underground dance sound to mainstream pop success. It was a huge anthem for optimism and a triumphant comeback for Kylie. Drupal, as a 25-year-old, is also in the process of reinventing itself commercially and critically. It may not have the charisma of Kylie Minogue, a few of us do, but after a long run as a global megastar, followed by a period of wondering if it's over, I think there's a clear path to success by combining our best shared lessons learned, a progressive and creative attitude, and the best of modern production techniques. Drupal as a community has worked hard over the last 2 years. We've earned a sense of optimism, and I've made peace with my past, and I'm excited about the future. Thought number 3, people make it happen. Our industry is a broad church. It's provided a refuge for those fleeing failed industries like graphic design or software development. I'm a film school dropout. Making websites as a pastime has always been very welcoming of people from everywhere and all walks of life. The early days used to be like, hey, you like websites too, let's hang out. I mean, it still is like that, but it used to be like that too. So for me, this has always been a people business. I mean, sure, there is some technology involved. I like playing with computers. The idea that I can sit down at a keyboard with a screen, write some weird stuff, and be instantly connected with anyone, anywhere in the world, that will never not be magic to me. And I realize there's a whole bunch of stuff happening behind the scenes. Computers, for sure, are there. There's some pipes or some pipelines or things. It's gotten really, really complicated. I mean, now I can talk to a pretend friend on a telephone, and they will enthusiastically write like a lot of weird stuff, like a lot of really, really weird stuff, and connect with people everywhere. Screen and keyboard optional. But does that mean that us ex-graphic designers, ex-software developers, ex-film students, writers, Gantt chart performance artists, now we have to flee our own industry and find a new church to take refuge in? Does that change the game? Maybe, but the game has always changed. Thank God for change. If there wasn't for change, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have a job. I'd still be unemployed, wondering why I can't make films. I wouldn't have a career, I wouldn't have a business, I wouldn't have a team. Change is the game. In 1995, going back to my past again, I was stupid, told I was stupid, for thinking that web would challenge print, or that people would shop online. In the year 2000, I sat in the glass tower in downtown San Francisco, and someone in a suit from StoryServer. Does anyone remember Vignette StoryServer? You know what I mean around that? Oh yeah, it had caching. Caching, how good was that? Caching, that would never cause any problems. They told me I would be out of a job unless I gave them $500,000, which was like over $1 million New Zealand tax exchange rate, for the privilege of installing their web content management system. That was the ticket price of entry. In 2005, just 5 years later, I was told everyone was going to be out of a job because clients would manage their own websites on WordPress. WordPress, that's just a fad. That's a in 2010, you know, it was iPhones and the App Store, and we were told that websites were going to die because everyone would never visit a website again. It would just be an app. I mean, do I need to go on? You know, it's been change, revolution, doom. Am I concerned about an AI future? No, not one bit. I mean, interacting with generative AI is equally terrifying. It's hilarious, it's ridiculous, it's exciting, it can be inspiring. Is it going to put me out of the job? I mean, only if I wanted to. You know, I should be so lucky. What makes technology great is the people who use it. What makes a website great is the things that people do with it. And Drupal as a platform has always succeeded where people who are good at what they do want to use it to do good things. This is still a people business, and AI doesn't change that. Drupal is an enabler. It's people sharing lessons learned so they can do what they want. Like LL, it has been here for years, rocking its peers. And like Kylie, it's expertly blended the best of the past with modern production techniques. Drupal is a community, and people make it happen. So, that's my thinking, that's my three thoughts. More than the word thoughts, that's my 3 quick reckons. My thinking, feel free to borrow it, or fight me on it. You know, I'm open to a contest of ideas. Our collective reckons have got us this far, they'll take us further. We're moving on from the past whether we like it or not. I'm optimistic and excited about the future, and I feel like that's not just hope or faith. Drupal is a doing word for me. It's about having a plan, doing things, and doubling down on what works. Good people want to do good work, and a great community enables that. If traditional Drupal disappeared today, and a product exactly like the new Drupal appeared tomorrow, drag and drop, AI-enabled, structured content, APIs, SDC, recipes, slide templates. If that dropped tomorrow, I would choose that Drupal over everything else. And I feel like this conference is a great chance to say welcome to tomorrow. New Drupal is here. We've moved on from the past, and we're into the future. And for what it's worth, I don't just listen to old music. This is my most recent favorite release from March 2026. Hope you enjoyed my talk. This is my closing theme song. And
to know yourself is to love yourself. Don't you want someone to want you? Don't you want someone to know? Don't you want to be seen, be heard, understood? Isn't that the point?
Thanks, Hipster.
Don't you want to be seen, be heard,
Thanks, Hipster.
understood?
Thank you, Dave. Thanks, Hips. Take challenges in your thoughts. Do we have any questions?
Sorry, I ran a little bit over.
Who was that last song by?
It's a new duo called Drama, and it's a song called Make It Look Easy.
I've got a question about your thoughts and perspective as a business owner and an optimist for the future and passionate about moving slow and 100% attention on the keynote speaker's position, which I've felt was quite different to a lot of those positions. So obviously I don't want to be vague, but I'm just interested in your take on what that search is.
I feel like strength in community is about unity, but it's also about diversity. The best work I do comes out of an argument. I don't always win, hardly ever win. And it's a different viewpoint. I mean, it's about the Cordero, it's about the discussion, it's about the contest of ideas. And so I think that I'm not a developer, right? You know, HTML are features of development. AI makes development faster, but our experience working with kind of a consolidated code base and focusing on development efficiency is that those are not the problems in the project, like any given project. Right? Deploying the code, solving the problem, that's not the problem. The problem is trust, compliance, and bringing everyone along on the journey. So, yes, you can build something in a day, and maybe you can test it in a day, but getting acceptance and rollout and understanding. I don't know if you've ever watched a user use one of your websites. It's one of the most humbling experiences ever. Getting people to understand what's happening and what they should do, that's the big challenge. Not just being out some live code. I did some coding using an AI. You know, I wrote some Pythons. It was fantastic. You know, I used to scrape a website that says all its content types. But that wasn't the problem. I think that having a voice advocate for something you disagree with is the best way to sharpen your own thinking.
Thanks, Iso.
Anyone else? Before we hit coffee and morning tea, hopefully ginger slices.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.